You know, I knew this episode was gonna be a banger, as I knew they couldn't have an episode title this dumb and to not have it be the most emotionally destructive one so far. And I am so happy to be correct. As yeah, Jax is crashing out, everyone else is having their personal epiphanies, while this rabbit is violently denying his own humanity, as he would rather be miserable than take the chance that someone might fill the void left by his friend. This honestly might be my favorite episode of the amazing digital circus so far, as it has so much going on and I need to talk about all of it. Like straight up, everyone has a banger moment in this episode. We saw people reflect on who they are and what they might be, which is perfect since the rabbit is so determined to not look back, he can't see himself hurtling towards becoming a past tense. Oh yeah, we're getting into it.
Or, yeah, we could all just shoot each other.
This episode opens up with one of the more recent developments, Pomni and Jax's friendship. As these two kind of have a vibe going on, Pomni is, like, far from the scared newcomer she was when she was introduced. She was just going through denial, depression, and adjusting to the fact that she is now trapped in I Spy meets I have no mouth and must scream. She was going through it. But now that she's relaxed, accepted that this is her life now, despite how much Caine has made that as hard for her as possible.
Wait, what?
Pomni is finally out of panic mode, hence it's only been fairly recently that we've seen her chill out and be able to express more of who she is than just the fail girl YouTuber. She kind of settled in episode 3 thanks to her talk with Kinger, the goat. Since then, we've really seen Pomni settle into the digital circus, that yes, this is her life now, so she's got to figure out a way to adapt, and most importantly, how and who does she want to spend her time with? Ragatha, my god, Ragatha has been trying, but Pomni is more than just a wayward child in need of love and support. As we discover in this episode, she can also be a little bit of a menace, hence why her vibe with Jax kind of makes a lot of sense. He's a freak in a way that none of the other members of the circus are. Gangle is pretty much always going through it, mainly because of Jax. Zubul is apathetic and depressed. Kinger as well. He's a king and he's also crazy 99% of the time, which unfortunately leaves Jax to be the only one that you could really say Pomni could have a good time with, as he is pitching chaos and cracking jokes, but in small doses I do see the appeal. But as Pomni discovers this episode, just because someone can be fun, it doesn't mean they're not a fucking maladjusted tool.
You're just gonna pretend that didn't happen?
You must be misremembering.
Pomni has had a great track record with all the other members of the digital circus. She sat down with an AI cowboy, a crazy person, and even made it through a clown's funeral. All these characters ended up opening up to her. She learns more about them and who they are besides like their first appearance. So Pomni can be forgiven for thinking that the same might happen with Jax. As yeah, he's a dick, but there might be more to him, and there is. But the thing about Jax is that while he tries to describe himself later as being funny, you quickly realize that the only person laughing is him, as his style of humor is just being a bully.
Ladies first. No, wait, why would I say that?
We start the episode with him being a dick to Zubul, dragging Caine there to find them even though they do not want to deal with this, with Pomni just conspicuously standing there and not really saying shit about it. This is something that is really made clear when we get to Gangle's therapy session, where she talks about how, yeah, this is just abuse. She feels like Jax's toy, and even when he's gone, she's afraid of what he might do to her. And with good reason, as the entirety of Jax and her interactions is just him being awful and hurting her for his own amusement. He's always done this, and this is nothing new. It is constant, there's never been a moment of actual kindness, so while you can kind of admire how Jax can be a little fun, a rapscallion if you will, but then like immediately, even in episode 1, it's clear that he is a terrible person. With everyone in the circus knowing this, and Loki letting the situation happen and spiral out of control where it pertains to Gangle. Yes, we've seen in recent episodes that Zubul and Ragatha are stepping in to protect her from him, but that's recent. And Pomni has seen what he's like, and that puts her in this position of just rolling with Jax's crazy and harassment. That none of what she saw before was a deal breaker, that him throwing her between the trucks, how he terrorizes everyone else of the circus. She saw all that and still went, no, I'm getting to know him. There might be something more to him, like buried beneath all that. And going along with him and all of his crazy, even though he is clearly a very toxic person. There is some validity to what he's saying about treating this as a video game. Pomni decides to buy into this, becoming just a little bit evil, but she ends up missing the itty bitty nuance that even even if what he's saying is partly true, the morality of the old world is kind of dead in here, we gotta survive however we can, but even if it's fun and allows them to go a little bit crazy and enjoy just shooting each other in the face, this way of going about things isn't all fun and games, as not everyone is on the same fucking page.
I blame you for this.
Jax may find it fun, but most everyone else hates him, and this is what was going through my mind at the start of the episode, as to me, I was kind of waiting to see if there's a moment where Jax crosses the line that was too much for Pomni to bear, and to realize that this is not fun anymore. This rabbit is just a dick, which we do kind of get, but I just didn't imagine the person catching those strays would be Pomni, and also what that behavior would say about Jax and where he's at.
Wait, what am I doing? I wasn't paying attention.
But to get back to the actual events of the story, Caine is bugging Zooble, and if I were to take a guess on why he's hyper-focusing so much on them, I think it's because he is extremely close to crashing out. Completely unprovoked comparison right here, but I honestly feel like that while Ragatha and Jax have a lot in common how they are trying to deal with being in the digital circus, I think Ragatha shares the most similarities with Caine, as the both of them are people pleasers. It feels like they are obsessed with making sure everyone is having a good time and everyone else is okay, all while being desperate for the validation of others. The key difference though is that while Ragatha is a little bit stressed out and just trying to make things work, she is capable of taking a breath and realizing that she needs to take care of herself. Meanwhile, Caine, for my money, I don't fully believe that Caine understands human emotions. He is a machine that I think is programmed to entertain the people of the circus. He's sentient, but that underlying directive is what guides all of his actions, so for him making sure everyone is happy is his main goal, but it's directly tied to his need to be good at his job, which for him correlates to being liked. Caine desperately wants to be a good boy. He wants people to be happy, yes, but he wants them to be happy because of what he's doing. If he were to step back and just let them do what they want, give them free reign to do like any world, just all the shenanigans, none of his directives or quests, maybe just introduce them when he wants, but he can't let that happen. He wants to be the direct cause of their joy. This leads him to just over-insert himself into everything, the games, the lore, obsessing over Zooble, who just made clear that they don't really want him. Hence why in the after credits scene, when he sees that no one voted for him, he starts to freak out, just like he did in his therapy session, as Caine wants to be liked, as that's a sign to his AI that he is doing a good job. But unfortunately, he's not a therapist. He was not designed to take care of fully functioning humans for this long. He probably wasn't even designed to be running for such extended periods of time, leading to a buildup of stress that he is clearly not dealing with. In fact, it looks like he's trying to erase memories to return back to like normalcy. And I feel like this is the true irony of his character, that for someone who wants to be so involved in the lives of the players, he doesn't actually allow himself to be their friend. He always puts himself as the overseer, the game master, this game show host and god, giving them half-baked quests and throwing a tantrum when they don't fully buy into like what he's selling. If you were to take the time to get to know them, to approach them on their level instead of lording over them the entire time, I feel like they could all create a much healthier environment than what they're living through right now, but he's not. Caine is incapable or unwilling to actually connect with them on a personal level, leaving him to flounder with how to satisfy them and his programming, which creates a very dangerous scenario, as while everyone else in the circus is maybe working through their issues and doing so together, no one has extended that same helping hand to Caine, who, if he were to crash out and abstract, it would just mean the destruction of the entire digital circus and the demise of everyone inside it. This is not good. We should probably be all worried, but unfortunately Caine being miserable is also incredibly funny to me.
Here, have guns. I don't care anymore.
Also, completely unprompted theory, but this episode has me really wondering about the nature of abstraction, as we don't really know what it means. Jax mentions that when people abstract, there are clear signs that they were just in such a state beforehand, as, yeah, they're getting really close to their breaking points, and then it just happens. Part of me wonders though, what is the actual mechanical means by which this occurs? Is it really just them mentally breaking down so their form breaks down as well? Or is there something else here? As, just to throw out this theory, that for a game that is a massive shit show, it does have some guardrails to it. It does allow players to actually meaningfully hurt one another. The censor bars are also there to keep it probably PG. All this stuff indicates that it really was a game meant to be played. So I wonder, if abstraction isn't what we think it is, that it's not just people having their psychotic breaks, resulting in their avatar breaking down, becoming a corrupted blob that corrupts everything they touch, I'm now wondering that, given how obsessed Caine is with keeping people happy, reality, maybe abstraction isn't just like a crash out. Maybe it's a broken part of the game. Think about it. If someone was in the game and facing some serious mental health issues, with the game detecting it, then it wouldn't be too crazy of a feature for a game developer to put in where the player in distress is automatically ejected from the game. They're having an episode and need serious help. So if we accept the fact that there is no way to escape the circus, that some part of the system is broken, then the game trying to eject players, hitting a wall, leaving the transfer incomplete, that could corrupt the original file, resulting in the abstraction. This might be completely crazy talk, but it's fun to theory craft about exactly what is going on, as we've never actually seen someone abstract before, so it really could be anything. But okay, enough of the theories, let's get to the part where everyone gets guns.
Tactical roll! Come on, Ragatha!
Yeah, Caine just gave up and gave the kids guns. If everyone was on board, this didn't hurt as much as I think it does. I think this would be incredibly fun. It's basically a high-stakes paintball, or, you know. I naturally have to bring up the fact that Zubul brought up wanting to bang, which brings up the question of who they're interested in. Though given their extra hands, maybe it's just themselves. This possibility nearly breaks Caine's brain, as his desire to please hit what I can only assume is the PG restrictions. So he compromises by ignoring it, which, as we've discovered, is Jax's whole deal. But the teams are formed, Jax is separated from his victim as Gangle decided to team up with Zubul, who throughout the last couple episodes has really become her closest friend, which leaves Jax in a bit of a tough spot, as how can he be a funny man if he's not punching down? I mean, thankfully-ish, Pomni decides to be his partner, mostly out of like seeming necessity of keeping Jax away from Kinger, and Pomni's, well, delusion that Jax would open up in a actually meaningful way. But before that, I was blown away that Pomni actually reached out to Ragatha to be her partner. The two haven't gotten a true one-on-one just hangout, besides that time Pomni told Ragatha that it's okay to vent. And while this might be her dream scenario, Ragatha ends up pushing Pomni away, which given the situation, I actually don't find that surprising. See, I think I used the wrong term in my previous video, but Ragatha is a people pleaser. Her default response to difficult situations is to be nice, fawn over others, and make sure all of their emotional needs are met while she is rotting on the inside. This coping mechanism was probably developed because of her mother, who was described as controlling and never made her feel safe, hence the obsession with making sure everything is okay and stable around her, only feeling comfortable when everything was normal. But even then, it's less her being at peace and more of a moment of quiet rather than her actually feeling safe. Ragatha knows that she and Jax just will not get along. They have so much history with one another, and that she apparently tried to help him, similar to what she's been doing with Pomni. But ever since the death of his friend, he has become a freak, becoming her polar, well, not moral opposite, but coping mechanism opposite. He treats this world like a game while she is trying to treat people like people, trying to instill a bit of normalcy to the world around her. She said before, but Ragatha hates Jax, but she doesn't want him to hate her, making this offer from Pomni a pleaser's dilemma, as she knows Jax and she knows that this will not go well, and she's too worried about what happened to Kinger if he was left with Jax, and so, with all that in mind, she denies Pomni, even though she desperately wants to spend more time with her, as the worry and concern for others leads Ragatha to deny her own wants and needs, devolving to assurances that she can be of use to Pomni. When she doesn't want to be Pomni's caretaker, she wants to be her friend, which, to cover Ragatha's whole arc, I love it. Everyone who was saying she was too toxic or too mean in the last episode, please take a breath and kindly get off of Jax's dick. Ragatha from the onset you would imagine to be the one closest to abstracting. She's paranoid about Pomni and Jax's relationship, fears losing Pomni, is overall incredibly stressed about her position in the circus. She craves companionship, but the main way she tries to be a friend is by acting like the team mom, when these be grown-ass adults. They don't need her to hype them up, but this fear of being alone is understandable. Zubul and Gangle are just forming a clique, Funny Buddy seems to be doing its things, leaving Ragatha to feel like the odd one out, that she is failing at her self-assigned purpose and therefore has no value, like Caine, inflaming her already rampant self-hatred, dwelling on the seemingly unfairness of her starting the game with one less life, speaking again to how she was probably treated unfairly as a kid, that she wants clear rules and standards, but life never gave them to her, hence her obsession with treating everyone well and trying to create a sense of fairness, which I hear is very common in people who had chaotic upbringings, with all this leading to her assuming the absolute worst about a certain agent of chaos. Ragatha be believing that Jax has some evil master plan to corrupt Pomni, to turn her into a little version of him, when that doesn't seem to be the full case. Yes, he's a terrible influence, not just in his whole like, you should treat everyone like it's a video game, like we're cartoon characters, but how he gets those flashes of anger whenever Pomni just wasn't committing to the bit enough. I think Ragatha accusing Jax of corrupting Pomni triggered him, no pun intended, as he talks about later how everyone, aka he blames himself for what happened to his friend Ribbit, so he does what he always does and takes his rage out on those around him, gunning down Ragatha with extreme prejudice, leading to her being just trapped in the loser's corner, where we get one of the best scenes in the series. Because motherfucking Kinger.
There are always ways to show you care without ruining yourself over it. You need to look out for yourself in all this, too.
Kinger is the GOAT, and every time he's in the dark, he becomes just the best character, even though he is the funniest when he's crazy. He speaks to Ragatha, just saying, hey, you're okay. You don't have to do all of this. Her view of relationships on being helpful is a detriment to her own well-being. That not every friendship needs to be one where they are hanging out all the time. Space can be good, and that it's not a sign that she made a mistake. She doesn't have to be useful and do things for others to be worthy of love. Ragatha isn't a bad person, friend, or any other word that was used to describe her. She's trying, and Kinger reminds her to give herself a break, that the others aren't her responsibility, and it's not healthy for her to be doing all the work in these relationships. I think it's so sad how Ragatha refers to how she tries to care for others and helping them as tricks, that she doesn't see herself as worthy of love, hence the language around trickery. She seems to struggle to think that the affection others have for her is genuine and unconditional. Ragatha is doing too much for others when she needs to take a breath and love herself, which is a lesson that pretty much everyone at the circus needs to hear. And it's one that a lot of the characters are accepting, with one massive exception.
If I led you on, it was just to make this part hurt you more.
This is a fantastic moment for the both of them. Kinger, when he's in the dark, always drops bangers. And I love the inclusion of him talking about his own sense of regrets, as we don't really know that much about him. So him saying like, yeah, there are things I blame myself for, and how that's just perfectly ambiguous enough to where we don't know if he's talking about Queenie, or if he might blame himself for creating the circus. As Kinger is a king, this could be his kingdom, and it's very suspicious that he just pulls a healing butterfly out of nowhere that Caine definitely did not create. This is some Neo in the Matrix type BS where he is definitely altering the code around him, or he has simply gone so crazy and everyone's form really is tied to their mental state that his lack of sanity is just allowing him to manifest things into the game, which would be very sweet as you imagine he's literally giving a part of himself to heal Ragatha. But their little talk, perfect. This has been a long time coming for Ragatha, and I fully have gone from worrying about her mental state to just knowing she's gonna be okay, just like Gangle.
You deserve better than thinking about him when he's not even here. You're a human. You're not his toy.
Gangle has had such a fantastic series of episodes. When the series started, she was Jax's victim. They were playing for comedy, even though when you took 2 seconds to look at what was actually happening, you immediately realized like, oh yeah, he's a dick. But then she got her own episode, she found a friend in Zooble, with it being here that we see her fully stand up to Jax when she's not having an episode, saying no, I'm not going to hang out with you, instead I'm going with Zooble, with her going even so far as to trust Zooble with the happy mask, wanting to save it for a special occasion, which would be firing a Tommy gun, and I love that. But the emotional scene to get there absolutely wrecked me.
You have to choose to love yourself, even if it doesn't make sense. It's not natural, it's intentional.
Now, this might sound bad, but I mean this in the most positive way. I feel like a lot of this episode can be described as the amazing digital circus saying the subtext out loud. From Jax's view that this world is just like a video game that he can use for his own amusement, to Gangle being Jax's actual victim and all the negative mental damage that has come along with it, Gangle is terrified of Jax and he has made it his life's mission to mess with them. And that has left Gangle terrified of the idea of him getting revenge for the smallest slight. But it's here that Zooble comes in so goddamn clutch, talking to Gangle about how she can't let her fear of him consume her even when he's not there. That Gangle's sense of worthlessness, that what makes her different doesn't make her less than anyone else. I love how the show managed to work in the various gimmicks of their avatars into different types of, well, metaphors for mental disorders. From Zooble's more obvious body dysmorphia dysmorphia to Gangle's more ambiguous condition that probably isn't bipolar disorder at this point. But while everyone is struggling, Gangle has been the one that has been just most visibly going through it, mainly due to a particular outside factor making everything worse. It seems like with Gangle, she struggles with being happy. It seems like she's always struggled with feeling good about herself, which is why this moment matters. But yeah, self-love isn't innate. Everyone has issues and struggles, which is why it is an active choice to try and love yourself. It helps her feel like she's okay and she's not broken because of this, well, situation. Everyone goes through something like this, and that means it's possible for anyone to choose self-love. Something that's proven when Gangle chooses to wear her happy mask to fire bullets at Jax. And even after the mask is broken, she's still smiling underneath, as she's happy. And she chose to be. Zubul, while a little bit taken aback by Gangle asking like, hey, have you ever had to make the choice to love yourself? Which hurts because Zubul has very much been struggling with their mental health and afraid that Gangle was going to reach out to them. I can see why this would hurt, as Zubul very much seems to have been keeping their issues close to their chest. They haven't really been talking to everyone about their depression and struggles with body dysmorphia, instead just locking themselves in their room and avoidance. But they've been slowly opening up, and they are crushing it with their new bestie. I'm very curious to see where we go next with their character, as they seem to be in a very good place already, willing to use their interchangeable parts to max out their gun stat and fire at everyone, showing that while Zubul has been struggling with their self-image, they are starting to embrace the malleability of that identity in finding joy and pride in it, which, you know, is better than dreading and being resentful of the condition. But let's be real, the true biggest line that dropped during this whole Gangle Zubul speech was the one about, hey, you're only human, and how that is directly contrasted with Jax's advice, which is clearly failing him.
But the silver lining is you can pretty much do whatever you want.
Now, I cannot understate how much I hate Jax as a person, but I do love him as a character. Awful to be around, and I just would have a restraining order so quick. But in being this much of a mess who's clearly struggling to maintain his sanity in a virtual world, ooh, I am loving all of this. Even though all of his issues right here have been telegraphed so heavily since episode 1. I mean, I think I clocked Jax's whole nihilism mechanic back in episode 2. NPCs as toys for his own amusement. And if you want a real red flag, he uses violence as a means of catharsis in a world that he can do so without consequences. He's basically an early Flowey or Simon. He treats everything like a game, as that's the only way he can mentally survive. As if it's just a game, none of it matters. And he really needs none of it to matter, or else he'll crumble under the weight of everything he's done and all of the pain he's feeling. I do believe there's some validity to Jax's mindset. Yeah, this isn't the regular world. This is a video game. We do not have to play completely nice all the time. Running around and firing guns is a good way to cut loose and enjoy the few perks of being trapped in the digital circus. But again, that mindset only really holds up and works if it's done in small doses and if everyone else is on board with it. Jax, in contrast, basically takes just the worst, most extreme position he can, treating everyone terribly, trying to say that it doesn't really matter, it's not serious, bro, even though he gets immediately heated the second the joke's on him, as it does matter, and he knows it. I truly think that there's something brilliant in how Jax tries to talk about his character like, oh, I'm just an archetype, after a while everything else fades away, and you're just this. You can basically hear him screaming, I am not a jerk with a heart of gold, I am just a jerk, stop trying to be my friend. As having a friend would mean he have to acknowledge that this isn't just a game, he is not a cartoon character, and I think for him that is the scariest thing imaginable, as it would mean facing the fact that all of this is real, and that he can't keep denying how he feels. As, to quote the show,
sometimes it all just feels pointless.
Yeah.
But it's not. Not if you have people who care about you.
This, I think, is one of the big overarching statements of the digital circus, and it is a lesson that Jax is adamantly refusing to learn. I believe he blames himself for Ribbit's death. When Ragatha brings up he's corrupting Pomni, he goes cold, as this touches on a very sore spot, as his friend died, and I think he holds himself responsible for that, with there also being a potential double pain here, as A, he doesn't want to repeat history, and B, he doesn't want someone to get that close to him ever again. Jax is terrified of creating creating bonds. He wants to treat everything as a joke because then he can pretend that none of this is serious and he doesn't have to care. He really wants to be that asshole cartoon character that just ribs everyone, makes jokes, and that's it. That there's nothing more to him when there clearly is, and it's all pain. If he's just a cartoon character, he can act however he wants, he can treat the gang however he wants, that it's really their problem for not getting with the program, when no, it's his actions that are the problem. He calls out Ragatha for being fake, yet here he is trying to say, no, I'm nothing, I'm just this archetype. Bro is the fakest person here, and he always clearly has been. But that's the beauty of it. When he's exasperating everyone else, it further isolates him and makes it easier for him to have this devil-may-care attitude where no one likes him. Hence his massive crash out when Pomni tries to give him a hug, as at first he likes it. And then he realizes what's happening and proceeds to try and push Pomni away, who, to her credit, has been very much going along with all of Jax's things this entire episode. She's trying to embrace being evil Pomni, which was just the other version of herself in the last episode. She finds some joy in this, as yeah, being the villain, it can be fun from time to time. But once all the people are gone and she catches Jax's mask slipping, he's bummed out when he got another reminder of Ribbit and the potential of what Pomni might mean to him now. He recoils the second she tries to have an actual, real talk with him, and he proceeds to lash out, which is a massive betrayal. They had fun, they talked, he did actually open up, but the second Pomni tries just a little bit to take things seriously, all of Jax's worst instincts come out, denying everything that they did today meant anything, demanding that Pomni shoot him as, yeah, he'd rather be hurt than loved. Plus, it would get him out of this whole conversation. And I cannot undersell how much Jax's voice actor, Michael Kovac, crushes it here.
You are my playthings, and I get joy out of making you suffer.
You feel every venomous barb, every ounce of pain in his voice as he tries to drive Pomni away and commit to this self-flagellating shtick, taking it from low blows to hell, telling Pomni that he would forget her and move on if she were to abstract tomorrow, which is her greatest fear and the thing he knows will hurt her the most. I honestly thought that Pomni was going to turn that on herself right here as, F you to Jax, but instead, she throws hands.
Fight back!
Are you crazy?
Before that, we do see Jax fighting the urge to console her and instead he wants to be nice here. He wants to, he knows what he just said is wrong, but he can't let it out. He cannot let himself care, so he defaults to being a dick, saying that she can't take a joke, which given how Gangle's language is so reflective of, abusive relationships, romantically, friend-wise, I still say this is an abusive relationship. Saying that it's just a joke thing, perfect. As yeah, he really is that guy. But while Pomni is beating his ass, he just doesn't fight back. He can't bring himself to hurt her, and I feel like he's also just shocked by Pomni reacting like this, as he is so used to people not caring about him, to just blow him off and to walk away, which would allow him to keep living in denial. When Pomni is bringing the heat, he's just trying to hold her back, and despite everything he just said and how he's been hunting down the rest of them like they were prey, he does care about Pomni. She means something to him, even if he wants to deny it with every fiber of his being, and denial is a huge part of Jax's character, as he doesn't want to acknowledge all of his trauma, he doesn't want to acknowledge all of his pain, and he doesn't want to acknowledge how he feels about all the people he's lost up until this point. Which, with this idea in mind, I think it does really recontextualize an earlier scene that was played off as mostly a joke, as we did see Jax freak out about his tail disappearing even though we have never seen him with one. This is hilarious, it's weird, it's out of nowhere, but Jax did seem actually perturbed by this revelation. But given the recent context, I kind of have a new theory about what's going on here. That Jax losing his tail is symbolic of just his refusal to look back. He wants to live in the moment, torturing the others, refusing to more acknowledge the past even as he is haunted by it. Hence, he's begun to start losing sight of himself, as he tries to default to this jerk trickster archetype, hence him losing his tail. As if we believe that abstraction is a form of self-manifestation, of a mental break so great that people lose sight of themselves, then we can take this idea of characters changing their physical form one step further. Kinger in this episode was able to affect the world by creating these health butterflies. Pomni, just through sheer rule of cool, was able to do an impossible shot. Ragatha used Toon Force to blast Jax's bullet right back at him. This could be a sign that characters do affect the world around them, they just don't realize it. Then it wouldn't be too much of a stretch for Jax, who wants so badly to deny parts of himself that he ends up losing a piece in the process, hence the missing tail. which mysteriously returns this episode. And I wonder if this has to do with him opening up to Pomni initially, so given what just happened, he might lose it in the next. Now, when everyone meets up again, Pomni and Ragatha are that like, oh yeah, we're gonna need to talk after this. Ragatha just wants to apologize for how she was acting, and Pomni just is like, I need to talk about Jax. Meanwhile, the bunny boy is hanging in the back, refusing to interact with the others, as he is ashamed. And he's also having a panic attack as he rushes into the bathroom.
God, you look stupid.
I did think he was abstracting right here, but the deep irony really hits when after all his talk of being the funny one, he just looks in the mirror and says he looks ridiculous. Because he doesn't believe this shit, but he needs to so badly as he thinks that's the only way to stay sane in this world, when clearly it isn't working. He may try to deny it, but Jax is hurting and Pomni sees it. And this isn't an excuse for any of his behavior and the mental harm he's caused everyone else. And I cannot believe that this actually needs to be said. There were so many great moments in this episode, but after a point, I would just be listing them all off and saying, oh, that was so cool. Oh, naturally, if I didn't bring it up, just assume I loved it, especially a duet and Kinger being a badass. Also, Jax shot Pomni, and I feel like that very much plays into how he accidentally harms those around him. Enough about that. It's probably gonna be its own video. I think the thing that really puts this whole episode above and beyond for me is the writing. We've seen these characters come such a long way from episode 1, where they did feel like archetypes with hints of how they were coping in the digital circus. But here we are 6 episodes later, and we see so much of them. We see them healing, finding friends, sharing the burden of being trapped here, with it only being those who are pushing others away that are now suffering. Jax is one bad day away from having a full-blown abstraction. Caine may just be a computer program, but he is trapped in here just like everyone else. Jax and Caine both suffer because they are unable to connect with the others, and that is driving them to madness. There's always so much going on with the show, but it never feels like too much. It is perfectly paced with jokes, quiet moments, and everything in between. I may have been slow to get on the hype train for this show, but let it be known that I will sing the fuck out of its praises. Also, I need to really update this title as it's super out of date. Also, I mainly did because I figured someone else who was meaner would want to use it one day. Episode 3 was perfect, but I think this episode is my new favorite. Gooseworks is killing it, and I cannot wait to see where this series goes next. Alright, this has been Sarcastic Chorus. Hello. Subscribe. That's about it. Love you all. Peace out. Also, tell me what you thought down below. Also, I have a second channel. I will figure out what I'm really doing with it, but for the moment, I did a reaction video to Fixed, if you're interested.